A while ago, I watched a video of a pretty well-known filmmaker. I forgot if it was a TED Talk or some kind of interview because, well, through all my research, I couldn't really find the video. But what they said really captivated me. They said, back in the day, when you wanted to make a movie, you would go write your movie. But now with the numerous advancements of technology, it's like if you want to go make a movie, then go make your movie. Like, no one's stopping you. And that honestly couldn't be closer to the truth. My proof? My own animated mini pilot, Go Time. How's it going, everyone? My name's Hunter and I'm the creator of Go Time. And today I want to take you through a behind the scenes tour of exactly how did I make this pilot and how did I go from all of these concepts to the final product. You're all caught up now? Let's get started. We won't have time to go through every step today, but hopefully through the steps we do go through, it can inspire you to make your own animated pilot. With all that said, I guess a good start would be what influenced me. The best writing advice anyone can give you is write what you know, and so I decided to take a lot of my own life experiences and experiences I've had with some of my friends and write them into wacky, zany adventures.
You are not Steve.
I am Steve! And a lot of ridiculous concepts like salesmen from outer space. From a young age, watching shows like Wow Wow Wubsy, I knew immediately from there I wanted to make my own cartoon. And I decided it was one of those things that would just magically happen when I grew up. Which couldn't be further from the truth. I'll be honest, animation can take a lot out of you. But with the recent success of shows like The Amazing Digital Circus and pretty much all of Glitch's catalog, it's really reignited my drive into wanting to make something and create. So what better time than now in the middle of the indie animation boom to do just that? So with that influence and drive to create, I decided to come up with an idea. As mentioned before, I always had the idea of two characters going on zany adventures, finding all kinds of ridiculous scenarios. Think of shows like Regular Show or The Amazing World of Gumball, some of my biggest influences and favorite shows growing up. And now that I had the idea, now I just needed to come up with the concepts, the character designs, the character dynamics, the world, the style, what the wacky situations would necessarily be, and how am I gonna do all this? Now, normally this is where people would get burnt out and say, okay, maybe animation's not for me. But not me. I was dead set on creating a pilot, even if it was just a short. And so, with my vast skill set in 2D and 3D animation, illustration, graphic design, editing, and my love for the artistic works of films like Spider-Verse, K-Pop Demon Hunters, and a lot of Sony's modern catalog, it was time to get going. Now, I'd like to clarify before we go forward, you don't need to have every one of these skills to be successful or create something. If anything, I'm very self-taught because YouTube is an endless wealth of information and so is Google and a lot of animation forums. Especially if you use softwares like Blender, there's an endless wealth of tutorials and community members willing to help you in whatever you want to do. It's a very flexible software and it's going to be our software of choice for today's pilot. With our software chosen, what style exactly are we going to go for? Because I love the flexibility of 3D animation, but I also love the aesthetics of 2D animation. The outlines, the lighting, the stylization. So what exactly can we do? I know. Let's combine the two. Now there's a multitude of ways you could do this. You can add 2D elements to the characters that make them pop out. You could do rotoscoping, and I had to think of all of this when designing the rigs for these characters. So what did I do? I basically modeled the characters' bodies in 3D and animated and exported their facial features in 2D using Toon Boom Harmony, which is a paid software, I must warn you. But there are plenty of other free animation apps that you can use to do roughly the exact same thing. I just prefer Toon Boom because it's what I know the best. With the characters done, it was time to design the backgrounds. Now for the backgrounds, I decided to take influences from a lot of my favorite shows and a lot of other shows that do the 2D, 3D hybrid style I'm doing with the faces and body. But anyways, once I had my creative direction figured out, my characters textured, I decided to add some toon shaders and some inverted hull outlines, which there's an entire wealth of YouTube tutorials you should totally check out on how to do that, and took the elements I liked from some of my favorite background art and took those to design my own backgrounds. Which, let me say, there is nothing wrong with using references. I repeat, there is nothing wrong with using references. Artists use references all the time, and even with animation, people would record themselves or take pre-recorded videos of people doing things and use those as references for their animation. Just because you copy a reference and make it vaguely different doesn't mean it's stealing. And I think a mistake a lot of creators and artists make is thinking that references is stealing. which I and a bunch of other artists can tell you it's not. Anyways, back to the animation. Once I had the characters designed and the backgrounds done, I just had to animate the characters. Now usually people would get the casting out of the way first, record the voices, then animate. Well, I kinda did the reverse. Before immediately putting out a casting call and hiring voice actors, I decided to get the animation out of the way so I have something to show for myself. Because usually, especially in the business world, if you want to convince people of an idea, you usually need something to show. Now in animation, especially any form of digital animation, you're gonna come across a lot of technical issues, and boy did I come across a lot of those. For example, when doing the final render passes for each scene, for some reason in the spaceship scenes, we always got these weird lighting artifacts, and I kept on wondering what was going on. Now these little artifacts were noticeably bright, and the only bright lights I added in the scene were the edge lights on the characters. And from there I realized it was probably the light linking we used for the edge lights causing all these lighting artifacts. Now for context, light linking is this little setting in Blender you can enable on a light to make it only illuminate a specific object. And we used a lot of that for the edge lights to make the scenes really pop out and look cool. But when it came down to it, do we want a scene that looks good a couple frames at a time with lighting glitches interspersed throughout? Or did we want a scene that could be consistent with its lighting? You could probably guess what we chose. So on the last day of animation, we had to crunch to redo the lighting in all the spaceship scenes to make it look good, and use no light linking. Eventually we did it, and the animation was ready to wrap. That being said, I still needed an audio reference point to help me animate, because trying to animate the characters on time without voices, it's a little hard, I'm not gonna lie. So I just recorded my own voice for every character, and used that as a reference point, not just for the VAs, but for me as the animator, to know when to animate and time the movements correctly. Ugh, what just happened? Eventually, animation wrapped up, and it was time for me to choose my VAs. A lot of my own friends volunteered to voice act, but some of them had to drop out, not just due to scheduling conflicts, but due to the fact that they don't really want to be out there in the spotlight. Which is totally fine. So I put the casting call out on X, and wow, the response to Scott was astronomical. Like, I'll be honest with you, I barely have a following on either YouTube or Twitter. Last time I did, I was the Go Anime Guy 67 making Caillou Gets Grounded videos.
You're up next.
Thank you, Kano and Dora Hans.
Mario, I am pregnant. America, you're just now saying that.
But still, it was crazy seeing all the support in all these applications, and I am endlessly thankful for that. Like, I just thank everyone who believed in this project from the very beginning. That being said though, what was it like to voice for the project? How about we hear from some of our main stars and see what they have to say?
Choose your player. Best Pierce, voice of Jenny. At its Best Pierce on all socials. I expect great things from you.
Hello, my name is Beth Pierce, and I voiced Jenny in Go Time. I really loved voicing Jenny. I think she's hilarious, and I'm really excited for you to see her. I had so much fun recording. I really loved looking at the animation and then doing my own take on it while I was recording. Jenny is definitely a lot like me. I can totally see myself in Jenny, and so I immediately was drawn to her when I saw a photo of her for the first time, and I knew this is someone I wanted to voice. And thankfully I am. I'm really happy to be a part of this project because I immediately knew this is going to be something that everyone should watch, and it's going to be hilarious and exciting. So I'm really excited to be a part of this team, and yeah, I hope you enjoy Jenny as much as I do.
And that was Best Pierce, the voice of Jenny. If you want to go check them out, as mentioned before, they're at It's Best Pierce on all socials. I highly recommend you go check them out. Really talented actor. Go show them all the support in the world. They really deserve it. With that said, let's get on to our next voice.
Choose your player. Michael Poellot, voice of Zam. At Ben67 Mike on all socials. Give it your best shot.
Hello there everybody, my name is Pen67 Mike, aka Michael Poellot. I voice acted Zam in this Go Time pilot, and working with Retro has been one of the amazing experiences that I've had. I've known him for a long time. You can see me in multiple of his things from his second channel. You can see me in Daybreak Broadcasts 1 and 2. You can also see me in Retro and Mike Take on the DMV, and I was also in that year's Christmas special as well. But I feel like one of the main things is that, like, a lot of stuff happened with me mentally at college, and Retro was there to help me stand, like how I was with his channel, and we've been loyal to each other ever since. I will say, though, that with this pilot, I hope you guys enjoy watching Go Time. If we will keep you guys updated if we make this a full-blown series. And always remember to stay in school, don't do drugs, and how do I say this? You know what, I'm just gonna say it anyway. Stay in school.
As mentioned before, that was Mike, the voice of Zam. If you want to check him out, they're Pen67 Mike on all socials. I highly recommend you check them out, drop them a follow. They can use all the support they can get. They've been a longtime friend of mine and a great up-and-coming voice actor. When they saw I was working on this pilot, they're like, hey, is there any chance I could get on the project? And I was like, I could probably find a role for you somewhere, somehow. And that role just so happened to be Zam. So I ended up giving them the role. Once again, go check them out on all their socials at Pen67Mike. At this point, we finally had our voices. Now, since this was a short, we didn't really need that many lines of dialogue or that many other VAs besides myself and my friends. But now we just needed one more thing, some snappy music to really make the short. Now, in the casting call I released, I also included, hey, I need some music composers. And I had a lot of amazing candidates submit applications, but one stood out amongst the rest. Now, before we go forward, you might be asking, why not just use some Kevin MacLeod royalty-free music, or any other royalty-free music for that matter? Or heck, maybe use some copyrighted tracks. Well, one, I don't really want to license out and deal with all the copyright stuff that comes with pre-existing tracks. And two, I wanted something specifically that could match the visuals, not just music that plays over it in the background. Think of the snappy music cues of Guy Moon and other popular cartoon soundtracks. We needed something like that. That being said, let's get to the last of today's roster.
Choose your player. Samantha Vandersloot, composer of the official soundtrack. At Samantha Vandersloot on all socials. Let's bring the magic!
Hi, I'm Sam Vandersloot, the composer for Go Time's pilot episode, The Salesman from Outer Space by RetroMan Animation. I created the score using the digital audio workstation Keybase. The score was a lot of fun as I had to jump from styles from Western, orchestral, and to jazz. I hope you enjoyed the music.
As mentioned before, that was Samantha Vandersloot, the official composer for Go Time. Not only check them out on their socials, but check them out on their Bandcamp. Listen to some more of their music, as they're really good at their craft. Whew, what a journey so far. You still with us? Fantastic. How about we go through a little recap? We started out with an idea, we turned that idea into a script, we did a bit of animation, showed said bit of animation to the internet, got a lot of applications, forked over quite the pretty penny, and now we have all the pieces of resistance. Now it's time to combine them together. And what do we get? Let me show you. I'm telling you, it's around here, folks! Haha, late April Fools! You thought I was going to show it to you on this channel. You're going to have to go to RetroMan Animation to see this one. I can't just post it on RetroMan TV. What am I, an animation channel? I mean, I am. But an animation channel on this channel? I'll let you debate that in the comments. But yeah, with that, we're pretty much at the end of production. And woo, one exhausting one. We had a lot of high highs, some low lows, and a lot of very consistent work days, and whew, it's tiring. But you know what? All that energy is totally worth it in the end. If I'm being real for a second, it took a lot to finally get up and actually make this. I've always had it in my head for the longest time that I wanted to make an animated pilot, and what I see a lot of people do is watch things like The Amazing Digital Circus, or if we want to go obscure, C Students, or if we want to go even more obscure than that, Cartoon Mania, and say, I want to make an indie animated pilot, so I hand to this rink, bring my creative visions to life. But a lot of the times they don't, and that could be for a whole multitude of reasons. Their lives could either be really busy, they might not have the proper skill set, or they seriously just underestimate the amount of work that goes into making one of these. But just because something's hard, doesn't mean it's not doable. There's plenty of hard things we've been through in our life at this point, and doing this was just one of those things for me. But even without the biggest online audience, I went on ahead and did it. Despite how many views it may or may not get, it's still a passion of mine at the end of the day. And that's really what drove me. From a young age, I've always had desires to work in the animation industry, and instead of just sitting around and saying that, I've taken the extra step in actually trying to do things that don't include art school. Like networking with not just figures online, but figures in the actual industry. Going to different events, different conferences, or even the conventions to an extent have a lot of networking opportunities for animation. If you're truly passionate about something and you want to do it, then go ahead and do it. Like I said at the beginning of this video, back in the day, it was like, if you want to make your movie, then go write your movie. But technology has come such a long way since then, and we're not talking about AI. Technology has come a long way since then. Literally anyone can make anything, and you can too. Just put your mind to it and go for it. It doesn't matter if you're the most amateur of amateur when it comes to animation. It doesn't matter if you have a big follower count or not, because what I've learned is that eventually the right people will find it, and before you know it, people finally notice your passion project. So yeah, moral of the story, go create. You can make anything you want, as long as it's not Fruit Love Island. Hey, don't go away just yet. If you like this video and you enjoy what we do, then consider joining our Patreon. You can get access to exclusive communities, live streams, behind the scenes tidbits, and all kinds of stuff on our Patreon. And on top of that, you enable us to create more episodes of Go Time, and even more series beyond that. Basically, you not only help us keep the lights on, but you help us fund more animations. If that sounds like something you're interested in doing, then feel free to join us on our Patreon. With that said, we hope to see you all next time.